During the lifetime of the final prophet, while revelation was changing the course of human history, there lived a man in Yemen who owned almost nothing. He was not a ruler. He was not a scholar surrounded by students. He was not wealthy or influential. He lived simply and worked as a shepherd. His clothes were worn, his food was little, and his life was quiet. Yet despite being unknown to people, he was known in the heavens. Owais accepted the message of truth without ever meeting the prophet face to face. He heard about the message from afar, and his heart recognized it immediately. He did not need to witness miracles or stand in gatherings. Faith entered his heart with certainty and sincerity. From the moment belief settled within him, a deep longing grew. He wanted to travel to Medina. He wanted to see the Prophet, to hear his voice, to sit in his presence even once. That desire stayed alive inside him for years. But Owais carried a responsibility that shaped his entire life. He lived with his mother, who was elderly, blind, and completely dependent on him. She relied on him for everything. He fed her with his own hands. He guided her when she moved. He cleaned her, cared for her, and remained by her side day and night. He never complained. He never showed frustration. His mother's comfort came before his own dreams dawned. His days were spent serving her. His nights were spent in worship. When the world slept, Owais stood in prayer for long hours. Sometimes he would remain in prostration, whispering to his Lord with tears in his eyes. Other nights he would sit in reflection, thinking about the greatness of God and the smallness of himself. Years passed, but the longing to visit Medina never faded. One day, with hesitation and hope, Owais spoke to his mother about his wish to travel and see the Prophet. He expected her to refuse. Instead, she listened quietly. Then she gave him permission, but with one condition: he must not stay long. If the Prophet was not home, he must return immediately. He must keep his promise. Owais agreed without hesitation. He prepared for the journey and crossed the desert on foot. The sun burned during the day, and the nights were bitterly cold. Yet every step felt lighter because it carried him toward a dream he had carried in his heart for so long. When he finally reached Medina, he went straight to the house of the Prophet. His heart beat heavily as he asked if the Prophet was inside. The answer stopped him. The Prophet was not home. Owais stood there for a moment. He could wait. He could remain just a little longer. No one would blame him. No one would question him. But he remembered his promise. He chose obedience over desire. Without knocking again, without leaving his name, without announcing who he was, Owais turned around and began the long journey back to Yemen. He left Medina without ever seeing the Prophet he loved so deeply. Later that day, when the Prophet returned, he asked, "Who came to my door today?" When he was told about the man from Yemen who came asking for him and then left, the Prophet smiled gently. He said that he could sense the fragrance of paradise coming from Yemen. He spoke of a man named Owais Al Qarni. He described him in detail. He mentioned that Owais once suffered from an illness that God cured, leaving only a small mark behind. He spoke of his devotion to his mother. He said Owais was unknown on earth, but known in the heavens. Then he said something extraordinary. He told his companions that if they ever met Owais Al Qarni, they should ask him to pray for them. Time passed. The Prophet returned to his Lord. The companions carried the message of Islam across lands and nations. Among those who never forgot these words was Umair ibn al-Khattab. Umair became the leader of the believers, a man feared by tyrants and respected by nations. Yet despite his authority and strength, he carried the Prophet's words in his heart. Every year during pilgrimage season, when delegations from different regions arrived, Umair would personally go out to meet them. He would ask them about their tribes and their people. Whenever a group from Yemen arrived, his attention sharpened. He would ask, "Is there among you a man named Owais Al Qarni?" Year after year, the answer was no. Still, Umair did not stop searching. Power did not distract him. Leadership did not make him forget. He was looking for a shepherd the world did not know. One year, during pilgrimage, a group from Yemen arrived as usual. Umair questioned them carefully. Finally, someone mentioned that there was a man named Owais among them, but he was insignificant, a simple man who kept to himself. Umair immediately asked to see him. When Owais was brought forward, he stood quietly, dressed in simple clothing, avoiding attention. Umair studied him carefully. He asked, "Are you from the region of Qarn in Yemen?" "Yes." "Did you once suffer from an illness that left a small mark on your body?" "Yes." "Is your mother still alive?" Owais lowered his gaze. "Yes." Every description matched exactly what the Prophet had said years before. At that moment, something remarkable happened. Umair, the leader of a vast empire, was not alone. Ali ibn Abi Talib was with him. Both of them remembered the words of the Prophet clearly. Both of them understood what this moment meant. In front of the people, Umair stepped closer to Owais. The powerful ruler who commanded armies now stood before a shepherd with humility in his eyes. Ali stood beside him, witnessing the fulfillment of a prophecy spoken years earlier. Umair said gently, "I heard the messenger of God say that if we ever met you, we should ask you to seek forgiveness for us." The people around them were stunned. They could not believe what they were hearing. The leader of the believers was asking a poor, unknown man to pray for him. Owais was overwhelmed. His face changed. He felt uncomfortable. He said softly, "You are the companions of the messenger. You are better than me. You should pray for me." But Umair insisted. Ali also encouraged him, reminding him that this was not their request, but the instruction of the Prophet himself. Umair then made a request that showed his deep concern not only for himself, but for the entire nation. He said, "Ask God to forgive me, and ask Him to forgive the Ummah of Muhammad." In that moment, there was no pride, no status, no titles. There were only hearts seeking mercy. Owais slowly raised his hands. His eyes filled with tears. In front of Umair and Ali, he prayed sincerely. He asked God to forgive them. He asked God to have mercy on the Ummah. He asked for protection, guidance, and forgiveness for the believers. Those who witnessed that scene never forgot it. The ruler of the believers standing humbly, and a shepherd raising his hands in prayer for an entire nation. When he finished, Umair felt deep emotion. He offered Owais a gift from the treasury, but Owais refused. He did not want wealth. He did not want recognition. He only wanted to remain hidden. He then made one request of his own. "Please do not tell people about me." He feared fame more than poverty. He feared that being known among people might harm his sincerity with God. And once again, he disappeared. Owais continued to live quietly. When people noticed him, he moved away. When praise followed him, he left that place. He preferred hunger over honor and obscurity over recognition. There are narrations that describe how deeply he loved the Prophet. When he heard that the Prophet was injured in battle and lost a tooth, he was overcome with grief. Not knowing which tooth had been injured, he broke his own teeth out of love and sorrow. Whether understood literally or symbolically, it reflected the depth of his devotion. Another narration speaks of him carrying his mother on his back across long distances. When someone asked him if he thought he had repaid her, he said that he could never repay her for even a single moment of the pain she endured while giving birth to him. He divided his nights in worship, one night in standing prayer, one night in prostration, one night in reflection. He lived with constant awareness that God was watching him. Despite his rank in the sight of God, he never saw himself as special. When praised, he wept. When ignored, he felt safe. Later in his life, he joined battles not for glory, but out of duty. Even then, he remained unnoticed among the crowds. When Owais Al Qarni passed away, few recognized who had just left this world. His burial was simple. His name was rarely mentioned, but in the unseen world, his rank had always been known. His life teaches a powerful lesson. Closeness to God is not measured by fame Honor is not found in recognition. Greatness is not proven by applause. Sometimes the greatest people are those no one notices. Sometimes the strongest prayers come from those who have nothing. And sometimes the highest rank belongs to the one who chose obedience, humility, and love when no one was watching. Owais Al Qarni lived unseen by the world, but he was known in the heavens.